Well, look for the light.
There it is.
There it is. Welcome, everybody, to our June 6th school committee meeting. We're going to get started. I'll ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As a note, this meeting is recorded and will be rebroadcast as well. And we're going to take us into a couple housekeeping items quickly. So we have some minutes to approve. So we have our regular session minutes from May 2nd, 2024. To a motion to approve those as submitted.
Michelle so moved.
A motion to have a second.
Jen second.
And we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have another set of minutes. These are going to be our executive session minutes from April 4th, 2024 to not be released. To make a motion to approve those.
Jen so moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Albert. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And the final set is our executive session minutes from May 2nd, 2024. And those are executive sessions, so they're not to be released. And entertain a motion to approve those.
Jen so moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. That's going to take us right into our showcase, and we have some guests tonight. Thank you for coming. Dr. Parson.
Sure, I'm happy to introduce three members of what we'll now call our English language development team. And with us tonight, I'll go from my left to right, is Annabella Lewis. She's our ELL paraprofessional. This is her second year in the district. Karen Nunes. I don't know how many years Karen's been in the district. How many? Six, but she is our lead ELL instructor. And this year, she's also served as our coordinator of ELL services when we realized we would have more tasks than typical. And at the end of the table is Anna Bruno, and she is our family school engagement coordinator. And she was hired this fall with the arrival of a number of newcomers when we realized that we needed to bolster our communication with our shelter that's in town and our school staff. And so we've appreciated her presence since this past fall. We have two other members of the team. We have Sophie Nagar, who joined our team this January as a second full-time EL teacher. And presently, Karen, who used to share the work at two schools, Karen is now housed at the Wood School, and Sophie is housed exclusively at the Jackson School. And Elsie Barner, who is also not with us tonight, is considered our student family support liaison, and she was hired also in the fall once we had some of our newcomer students joining us. And one of Elsie's specialties is that she's fluent in Haitian Creole, and that was of extreme importance to us at the beginning of the year. I should also mention that Annabella is bilingual, and Anna is trilingual, and Karen is bilingual. So we have a nice cadre of support staff here and educators for our newest students. So I thought tonight would be a nice night to put a little bit of a spotlight on the work that they've been doing since the beginning of the year, and just share some of that with the community and the committee. So I think Karen will take the lead on our presentation.
I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Go right ahead. Thank you.
So I just wanted to start out, before I start talking about Plainville's population, about the reason I'm an English language learner teacher. So I am first generation American. My family is all Portuguese speakers. They're all from the Azores. And I feel like growing up with parents who are immigrants and hearing their stories, hearing about the difficult times, but also about the educators who really gave them support in their academic careers and supported their learning, that inspired me to become an ESL teacher. And especially this year with seeing our newcomers, who some of which were the exact same age as my parents when they arrived, seeing them come in and feeling like I'm a liaison and a support for them walking in the door. It's been a very challenging year, but it's also been just an amazing year for me to feel like I'm really making a difference in students' lives. I always felt that way, but particularly with this population, it really hits home. So this year has been quite a year. We started off with 32 English language learners that were our regular population in Plainville. And within the first week and a half of school, that number jumped. At this point, we're up to 54 English learners across the district. That's in grades K to 6. But if you could skip to the next slide, kind of wanted to go to this a little bit. But our total amount of multilingual learners, which includes our former English learners, our pre-K students, and the students that we service in K to 6. At the beginning of the year, we had 46 total, and at this point, we have 70. So
70?
70. That includes students who have exited the program that are still being monitored as former English learners, and our pre-K students, which don't receive direct services but are monitored. So they're all called multilingual learners. They're all learning 2 languages. So the number has jumped quite a bit if you look at the total amount of both English learners and multilingual learners. On this slide in particular, we have had a lot of changes in our languages represented. I know when I started in 2018, our primary language was Telugu. Most of our students spoke Telugu. We also had quite a few Spanish speakers, but that was the primary language of most of our English learners. At this point, it's changed. The variety has increased quite a bit. We have all different languages there: Akan, Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Gujarati, Haitian Creole, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, Tagalog, Tamil, and Telugu. Last year in particular, we did have an influx in Russian-speaking students, which was completely new to the district. So I think that was a little bit of a change last year. This year in particular, we've also had a change in our proportions. Normally, what happens is we have foundational learners at the Jackson School, mostly students that are just starting to learn English. And by the time they reach the Wood School, they're usually at the transitional level. Some are exiting, and hopefully by the time they reach our 4th, 5th grade, they've exited the program altogether. With this year and all the changes that have happened in Plainville, we've increased to having more foundational students, which require more support, more minutes, and in particular, having those at higher age levels has been a little bit difficult. So I think we've made a lot of progress, especially, I know at Jackson we've made a lot of progress. At Wood, it's been a little trickier with having students come in at such a beginning level to demanding curriculum and a higher level of expectation. That's what I had there about foundational transition.
Oh, I moved you.
Oh,
Are you ready for that?
Yep, I'm ready for Slife. So one of the big changes that we had this year, and this is probably my biggest area of growth as an English language learner teacher, is that we now have SLIFE students with limited or interrupted formal education. These are students who are both English learners and have missed at least 2 years of schooling, either in transition or through their immigration stories. And so they are coming in at a much lower level academically than expected because they haven't attended school consistently. So what we've done is we've created some assessments to figure out what level they're actually at academically, and we've gotten some procedures in place to identify some potential SLIFE students. We've created an intervention block for them. I consulted with both the reading teacher at Jackson and the reading teacher at Wood because, like I said, these kids are coming in 2 or 3 grade levels behind academically. So we kind of looked for support in both schools for reading. And we created an intervention block where we're doing like phonics, phonological awareness, early number skills, addition, subtraction, just to get them up to some level of understanding at their grade level. So that has been a major area of growth for me. It's my first experience with SLIFE students. I've been working with English learners for 16 years total, and this is the first time I'm ever having SLIFE students, so it has been a learning experience. And to piggyback on that, so I understand this year's been quite a jump, change for all of us, having more English learners in the classroom, needing more family support, needing more support in general. But it's been a process over the past 6 years that I've been here. I can't speak to what happened before 2018, but I do know since 2018, we've had a lot of changes to the program. We did start translations for conferences when I began in October of 2018. We started the process of getting our conferences translated for families that needed that. We also started with our curriculum REACH, which was, beforehand we were using teacher-created resources, and now we're using a formal program. The monitoring FELS with DESE guidance. EL forms being placed in the CUME folders, which was also a request of KP to have a uniform way of getting them the information about English learners. Parent communication apps. If you see 2020, you know it was because of COVID that we started with a lot of new apps and new technology. And Mrs. Lewis joined us last year, 2023. Actually, 2022. Did begin 2022, 2023 school year. So that has been a major support of getting that in-class support. So we did get an ELD program report card. So we're using the WIDA standards to measure their growth. It's more formalized now, and it's also translated. We are working on an LPAC as we go.
Can you explain that? I didn't spell out the acronym there.
Oh, sorry. An LPAC is basically almost the equivalent of a CPAC, but for English language learner parents. It'll eventually be a parent-led organization where parents can bring their needs and what they would like for support for their students. So we started some translation procedures for our report cards. I'm going to go to the last one because then we'll come to the tutoring. We did hire an additional EL teacher, which has been absolute lifesaver. Our family school engagement coordinator, which has been an absolute lifesaver, honestly, in dealing with these families. And not only for me as the English language learner teacher, but I know the classroom teachers feel the same. They know they can contact her to get our families on board with whatever's happening at the school. And our students' family support liaison, so that was all grant funded this year.
Did you want to speak to the tutoring at all?
That was why I was gonna, maybe what I might hold on to for the end, because I know Mrs. Lewis has a nice little write-up about the tutoring. So this year, thanks to Ms. Bruno, who's our family engagement coordinator, so we've had some very clear communication, conferences, notifications. We've had field trips forms being able to be signed and explained to parents personally about what they were. So daily updates with our transportation, how our kids are getting to school, how our families are getting to IEP meetings. So she's been absolutely instrumental in this, in getting our families on board. We've also become a little more cohesive. I was a department of 1 for about 4 years and then a department of 2 for 1 year. So this year we've been trying to get everybody together on one place. We do meet once a week. We have an agenda that we create, that Anna and I both create. She gives us information about the families and what's going on at home and some different activities that are happening with our kids outside of school. And I generally update everybody on the curriculum and what's happening with assessments throughout both schools. So we keep everybody on the same page with both what's happening in school and what's happening outside of school. We also introduced our app called Talking Points, which translates directly to families. So quick things like tomorrow is a half day get sent out that way. it gets sent out in everybody's individual language. It is a free app, which is absolutely amazing. And some families have used it to respond or even just as a way to communicate, my child will be out sick. And we're all able to kind of communicate easily with that. We also have gotten some more organized practices for translating our important documents and for homeschool communication. That's something that I'm sure will tighten up as it keeps going, but we've gotten a process in place for how we're getting that going at this point. So 6 of our L's are exiting, which is absolutely amazing considering how many transitional L's we had by the end of this year. So they're all moving to FEL monitoring. Everybody has maintained some level of growth at their own level. Our classroom teachers have become amazing supports for our kids. They're becoming more adept at working with them. They're looking for ways to support them. They're looking for ways to increase the visuals in their classroom and the supports that they need for those kiddos. Our teachers are also becoming accustomed to SLIFE students, and how do I support a child who's 2 or 3 years behind? Where do I go from here? So I think that, yes, they have leaned on us for support, but they're also becoming very adept at working with these students that are coming from a different background. We've increased our understanding of SLIFE students. Like I was saying, this is my first experience this year with this type of student that is not only learning English, but learning basic academics. And we've had a lot of students with trauma or other issues that come up with being in an emergency shelter or being in this situation. And I feel like teachers and staff have been very empathetic to these students and what's happening. Our other students are amazing. Some of them have learned a few words in Spanish or Haitian Creole just to communicate. Some of them it's just a smile or just a high five. But I feel like all of the students are showing that they are welcoming to all of our students, whether they were English language learners before or whether they're new students from the emergency shelter. Sorry about that. So I think the last thing, it brings me back to why I became an English language learner teacher. I get to have the wonderful duty of being in the Wood School foyer in the morning, and I have to admit my joy is them coming into the building and saying, "Is there English class today?" and I say, "Yeah," and they go, "Yes." And it's just the most amazing feeling, and it brings me back to, hits it home a little bit to think that is the feeling of belonging that I wanted, I hope my parents had when they came, and I hope that these kids feel in Plainville. Do you want me to share? I can share. You've heard enough of me. Are you sure?
Yeah, I've got this.
Because I can share it.
I don't like speaking, but I will. I am Mrs. Lewis. I am also a English language learner myself. I have faced many challenges growing up, which I think gives me an understanding of what it's like to be that student who is coming into a school and learning English for the first time. I did not learn English until I was 7 years old. These EL students are amazing. They have, a special place in our hearts. We absolutely love and adore them. We continue to see them speaking in their own native language. It could be because maybe they're fearful of speaking in a classroom setting, all of which negatively affect their overall learning in the classroom. With that, being newcomers, living in the shelter, there's a level of trauma. I feel like us as a community, as a school, from principals to adjustment counselors to teachers, to Karen, Anna, we all came together and we worked together in order to get the students' needs met. We worked with kids who, were full of tears the first day. We worked with them navigating the school, which is scary, it was big. I think we as a school did an amazing job. Through small group tutoring, which was also funded through a grant, we could reach newcomer students and provide them with a safe learning environment. I myself feel like I was able to make a real difference in some of these students, either through making language accessible to them or by helping them learn to ID letters, sounds, and decoding. For me, the highlight of my tutoring was working with one special student who appeared to have selective mutism. She did not speak. She also presented with a level of trauma herself, the first month of school. Through tutoring, I was able to ease her anxiety by creating a safe environment for her to learn. My goal for her was to be able to build her confidence. In doing so, getting her to speak, which is now what we're seeing, which is so great to see her interacting with peers, even though she's not talking out loud, she's using that whisper voice. And she has grown and stuff, and just to see her smile.
And participate in field day.
Yeah, yes. That's it's just kind of, it's rewarding, it's fulfilling. Like I said, it takes a team. It really does.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, a couple points. So, I'm always impressed by multilingual people, bilingual, trilingual. I struggle to be monolingual. So, I really appreciate the fact that you're all here with your expertise and training. And I was there on the day the newcomers came in September, and you all had a huge undertaking, and I appreciate getting it done, coming and helping us, making it happen. I think that I would put how Plainville handled that situation against any community in the Commonwealth, because it hasn't gone as well in other places. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for keeping our schools going, not just for the newcomers, but for all the students, because without the effort, the team effort from the administration on down, there could have been huge impacts to all students, and you prevented that and have helped these students. So thank you. And thank you for coming here tonight, and I'll open it up for any comments or questions. Start this way. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I would just, I've had a conversation with my ELL director, and she came from Cape Verde, and this is many years ago because we're older. But when she came over, she didn't speak English, and her father was a physician in Cape Verde, but he had to take more of a medial job when he came over. So when she got placed, they placed her in a classroom so she could color. She was extremely bright. She was in second grade, but she didn't have the language access. So we used to always have these conversations about what is it like for somebody who comes over. And I'm so grateful for the fact that that's not happening to those children anymore. They're not being put in a room to color, because we have people that have the expertise that no, these children can learn, and they can learn with all the other children, and they can access the skills and the language. And so my hat's off to you for that, because it's not only, as you mentioned in your thing, it's not only just about the language, it's the trauma too. Yeah. And looking at the homelessness and what does that mean and how does that impact them. And the family's very proud. My girlfriend said that we were very proud. We didn't want any help, but we needed the help, and that's hard to ask for that. So I appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, and so I'll kind of piggyback on what Michelle said. I mean, what you've done is extraordinary. And it's as if learning English wasn't a hurdle enough. It's learning English so that they can learn what they're learning in the classrooms. And you can't do that learning without knowing the language. So I can't imagine how difficult it must have been, how challenging. But like you just said, you can see the difference you've made in these students. I mean, I've been lucky enough to go into the classrooms as a volunteer. And at the beginning of the school year, there were some students that didn't know the language. But I know some of the students that had grown up in Plainville, they said they might not know my language, but they know a smile. And I thought that was just that's the acceptance that we have in Plainville, and that will just help them become incredible adults. So a very long-winded way of saying thank you. You've made a difference. You know, and I know you don't need to hear it from me, but you've made an extraordinary difference in so many lives.
Very, very well put. And I can't help but be emotionally moved by particularly the story of the one student that you zeroed in on who couldn't speak and is now using a whispering voice. I think the credit for the success of the whole experience that we've gone through here in Plainville has to start with the administration, and I want to thank Dr. Parson for being able to put together a reaction to an unprecedented situation in our community and our schools in particular. To have a situation unfold the way it did in our case, and as Justin said very eloquently, some communities have not been as fortunate as we have. They've not been as welcoming or as successful in being able to absorb these new students. I think the credit has to be spread around, and I'm delighted to see the three of you here today, and to your colleagues as well who aren't here. A huge thank you for your efforts, because they're paying dividends. This is a nation of immigrants, and I think all of us here are either children or grandchildren of immigrants. And as you so eloquently put it earlier, you're a first-generation American yourself. And to be able to put your own parents in a lens and see these children through that lens, I think is very, very positive. As a community, I give Plainville a lot of credit for the reaction that they've had to this entire situation. Very challenging, very unusual and unexpected for us, and yet we've been able to respond the way we have. And I'm very proud to be a member of the Plainville community that's been able to put this together. And I thank each and every one of you, and I thank all the teachers and the administration and the staff, the principals of the schools who have been able to react the way they have to this situation. I think we could be an example, a shining example of what to do in a situation like this. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your efforts. Please continue as we continue to deal with the growth in this, the need exponentially increasing. And just thank you. I can't say any more than that.
I did field day yesterday. I don't know if you noticed that she had beads. They're mine. She got them from me. I couldn't get her to play. She didn't want to play, but I think she was hot at that point. But I had a lot of the other students, and they all had a really good time. But I can tell you, when my great-grandparents were here, my grandmother, her brothers, they went to school, and then my great-grandparents got in trouble because none of them could speak English, because they all spoke French, because that's what they spoke at home. My great-grandparents could speak both, but, you know. And they got in trouble from the teachers. So they stopped speaking French at home, and now no one speaks French. And it's very weird to think that was the way it got handled. So I'm glad that you guys can do both. But it was fun yesterday, but you got my beads.
I just wanted to add, I think Robin Roberts-Pratt will also attest to the fact that this particular student, not only was there no speaking, but I think her MO at the very beginning was actually to try to bolt from the building. And the first time I met that particular student, she was sitting in an alcove, and I think Robin was blocking a door and walkie-talkies everywhere. And so to think that this student has come this far, that is a testament, and she's just one example of so many. I do want to share with this team and with the school committee that I had a conversation today with our DESE, kind of our liaison there, Anne Marie Stronach, and she asked me specifically to relay to the team her thoughts of congratulations and gratitude for the work that you all have done and the way that this community has embraced our newest learners. So it's made an impact all the way up to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And I had shared with the committee earlier today that we did get some good news in that phone call from Anne Marie that any students new to us after October of 2023, we will be provided with some funding for those students in the upcoming school year, which will help us to be able to maintain some of the supports that we've learned are most important.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. Wonderful presentation, and continue the good work. Thank you. So if you all may indulge me a little bit, out of respect for some of our audience members, if I took a couple items out of order, if anybody's okay with that? I would like to tackle the two items, the Jessic family request and the PTO fundraisers, so that our two representatives tonight can get home to their families. So I don't want, you can fight out who wants it first, we can pick which one. I know you know each other, so if, all right, we'll go with the War Kids. So why don't we go with that? So Heather, if you'd like to come up, and we're going to advance the Jessic family request up, if that's okay. All right. So, Dr. Parson will give us a little bit of background. There's been some communication with the family along the way. You're representing tonight, which we appreciate you being here. So just for the record, Heather, for those who haven't been around or know, Heather is a former school committee member for Plainville. So she's welcomed back here with open arms, and we're happy to see you. So, and highly involved with what you're representing tonight. Appreciate your efforts on that as well. So, Dr. Parson?
Thank you. So over the course of the past year, when the community has obviously rallied for Malia Jessic and for her family, through her illness and through her unfortunate passing at far too young of an age, there have been many conversations that I'm aware of different ways in which we can recognize this young girl, keep her memory alive, and honor the things that were important to her, that were important to her family, and kind of in line with the name of the organization that her parents are now part of, keep that legacy going. So since last year, I'd been receiving suggestions from different people, what are some things we can do? Would it be a mural? Would it be, coincidentally, with the new playground at the Jackson School, would it be the naming of that? What kind of efforts could be made to support Malia? And keep that memory alive. So over time, we did receive a request for a meeting from the Jessic family, and I spent time meeting with them along with principals Kristen Skeffington and Robin Roberts-Pratt to get a sense of what was the family thinking. I never had the privilege of knowing Malia. I came to Plainville too late in the game to have really known the family at that point in their lives. But I certainly feel like through what the family has shared, what our principals, their teachers have shared, we got the gist of who this little girl was and what was really important to her and what we'd like to kind of leave as a legacy moving forward. So after a number of conversations and discussions, we landed on the idea of a couple of things. We landed on the suggestion to name that new playground at the Jackson School after Malia, and we also spent some time going through the school committee policies and when you can name something and when it's not appropriate, and it seemed in line with our policies that the naming of a new structure would be appropriate as one thing for us to consider. The other conversation that we had with the Jessic family was, while we're also interested in doing what they talked about, which is actually commemorating and memorializing her through a structure, we talked about another way that they might want to consider commemorating Malia and honoring her year after year. And we talked about doing that through a scholarship or two scholarships that could be awarded to current Plainville students each year for an opportunity to attend camp, both at the town, the Parks and Rec camp that John Tyner runs in town, and also through the YMCA. And it's nice that you're here, Caitlin, to hear this tonight. And they're offering, as this annual scholarship, one scholarship for each school. So one student at each school would have an opportunity to attend 1 week at each of those summer opportunities. And it would obviously go through some recommendations from the principals and people in our schools who really are aware of our students' needs. So we make sure that those scholarships are awarded appropriately. Students who really kind of value the same things that Malia did and who also have the need. So the Jessic family, I know, really would have wanted to be here tonight, but unfortunately, our last meeting of the year coincided with something that was very important to them that was related to Malia, which is the reason why they're not here today. And they offered to have a good family friend come and kind of support the request. So I think that's about, kind of the summary of background of what we're talking about. We're talking about, an annual scholarship and award to commemorate a current student and Malia, and putting something more permanent in place at our Jackson School playground.
Thank you. I won't put you on the spot too much, but is there anything you'd like to add?
I mean, she said it absolutely perfectly. I'm going to try not to cry as I'm like sitting here thinking about even how to even go about this. But I think that the biggest thing is to keep her memory alive. I mean, she was such a big part of all of our lives. She embodied what I think that every kid looks up to. She was a joy. She had perseverance. She was just this beacon of light that I think everybody just loved. And I think that doing something like this, those three things sound absolutely amazing. And I think that having a place where kids can go and see either a plaque with her name or her story, I think would allow students to say that there's times where we all go through really bad points in our lives, and hopefully it would be something that maybe could get some kid through one of those points themselves. So I think that you said it perfectly.
Thank you. Thank you. So for some background, I know I had spoken with Dr. Parson quite a bit about this over the last many months. This is something that I've wanted to see happen in some form for a while. It was challenging to figure out how to do it because self-initiating from the school committee side, where's the bar, where's the threshold, God forbid something else happens, where's that mark? So it was a challenge to find a path. So when the Jessics came forward on their own, I found a lot of comfort in that, because I think it's when something rises to the level of a community like that happened with Malia, and they come forward to the school committee with a proposal like this, it's a lot easier to find that bar, to find that mark. So for me, it was a no-brainer to have this on the agenda tonight in the form that it came to us, and I think it also helps insulate the school committee for any future situations that could come up, because we're starting a precedent where if something like this does happen and this community goes through something like that again, this can be the path to do it in a way that doesn't put the school committee in a place where we're calling the proverbial balls and strikes on what should and shouldn't be. So thank you to you and the Jessics for bringing this to us and helping us find a path. So that's my thoughts on it, and I would open up to the committee for any discussion on what they think. We'll just stick to the right to the left tonight, make it easier. So Michelle, if you have anything you want to...
No, I completely agree with the proposal. I just wanted to check to make sure that we follow our policy of naming new facilities, which is the FF policy. And I wasn't sure if there was entertaining a vote, because I know part of our policy is following the submission, the school committee chair will specify a considerable period that allows for public comment, following which the committee will then deliberate and vote on the name. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know if we want, now the policy itself was back in 2016, then it was amended in 2018. So it is 6 years old. And
Correct.
So now I'm thinking, let's make that a top priority for one of our policy reviews. So that's the FF policy. But we have it currently like that. So I just didn't know if you were thinking of a vote tonight. I wasn't sure.
I really wanted to get it out in the open session and see what the committee wanted to do. I mean, I would hope that we can at least give, if we wanted to give a vote even at the next meeting, if we wanted to go that road, if that was the committee's feeling versus tonight, that we can give some sort of positive direction to the family, even if we don't take the vote tonight.
Yeah, I support the naming. I just want to do it the right way, where we allow people, if they have any comments or they want to ask any questions, because like you said, it is tricky, because we have had other tragedies, I'd hate to say, but we have. And so let's set that bar. Let's figure out how we're going to do this so we do it right, and
100%.
we're able to use that. And then I think going back, I was reading some of the policy and I'm going, that might need a little tweaking. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So that'd be my only thought. And thank you. I know that was very difficult. I know how close you are to the family. So thank you.
whatever route we have to take to get there, 100% they have my support. So I think this is, like Justin said, I'm so glad they came forward, and I think this is a wonderful idea.
I think this is more than appropriate. I don't have a concern with voting on it tonight. I think that this has been an ongoing topic of discussion around kitchen tables and dinner tables in Plainville for the better part of, well, years now. And the community, it certainly has overwhelming community support. It's like nothing I've ever seen, to be honest. And I thank you for being here tonight to bring this forward so that we have a method to honor Malia. And I think I'm very impressed with the scholarship
Yes.
offer
Very
as
nice.
well. I think that's a terrific way to go. So I'm very supportive, and thank you.
I support it, but I agree, like, we have to make sure that we're in line with that policy, because I don't want us to get in trouble. So I think we do have to open it up to other discussions before we just vote on it.
Sure.
And, but I support it. I want it.
That's why
That's what I want.
That's why we're having the discussion tonight. That's why we wanted to do this.
Right.
So what I think I hear is broad support. And maybe what we do is we'll put it back on the agenda for a vote at the next meeting, and we'll allow comment on it before we take that vote. Would that be acceptable?
Yes, I want to make sure we follow our policy, because then nobody can say we didn't.
Correct.
You know,
And I
we
want to
don't
make sure
get
we're
hung up on that.
all 100% unanimous behind not only the vote, but how we got to it.
Yeah, because I want to support their family, but like Michelle said, there are other families that have had tragedies, and we don't want them to feel that we don't support them either.
Absolutely.
Right.
No, 100%. And so, I mean, I think if we'll post it on the agenda for the next meeting, that this same agenda topic and discussion and vote. And we'll go from that road. How does that sound to you?
That sounds amazing.
All right. How does that, timeline-wise, scholarship will begin for next year?
I believe so, yeah.
How we're going to play that? So we're not going to have any issues there, right?
I can double check with them.
Okay.
See if it does have issues.
Yeah, because I want to make sure we don't interfere with that. But I think if it does start next year, then we'll be fine with having a vote at the next meeting.
I think it's starting that's the note I had.
Yeah, I
Two
saw it.
scholarships will be awarded starting this summer.
Okay, when is the next meeting?
Well,
But the policy is more for the naming.
I was just going to say
So
that.
they're giving a,
You could separate
you could
it.
put that as separate, because
Yep.
that's a donation. Yes, it's bought into, because you can have a naming without any type of, oh, I'm going to offer scholarships or anything. You could just do a naming separate. So you could kind of get around it.
So what if we did this? So we put on the agenda possible vote for tonight, because we weren't sure. So what if we played it this way? Why don't we separate them into two? And if there's comfort with them, Kitty, to accept, so although it's not under the gifts and donations, it's under their proposal, which is under new business, so that we accept the proposal for the scholarships and then let that play forward for this year. And then we'll take the vote at the next meeting for the playground.
Yeah. Because we always accept donations from
Yeah.
companies, and so that's a.
And I believe, in my opinion, that it's sufficiently posted via the new business because that document covers it all. So I don't think we'll have any issues with that.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
and that
all
way
there.
we won't mess up the timeline of, what they had planned to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I can make a motion up in my head here quickly. How about, I would entertain a motion that we accept the proposal from the Jessic family for the scholarships and to be in place for the end of the school year. And anything to go, anything else to add to that? And any of the finances that go with that will be handled accordingly from Ms. Clark. So I don't know how it would
It would be
route.
through their foundation, and I think that would go directly to the families of the children who, I don't think it would go through the schools at all.
So we would pick, but the routing of the donation would go via the organization themselves. So maybe we try a different motion then. Maybe the motion is to give the school administration permission to select the scholarship recipients and follow the wishes of the Jessic family related to it. How about that? Does that cover it?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Somebody want to make that motion?
So
I got the so moved. Thank you. Somebody save me.
Jen second.
Yeah, we got a second. All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and I'm very happy to see that, and we will take care of business at the next meeting to finish it out.
I really appreciate it.
So, thank you for coming.
Amazing community, and I feel like this is going to be something that'll bring everybody closer together.
We miss
Bill does
you.
an amazing job with that. So
You're missed.
I
You are
miss
missed.
it. I miss it. Can I ask you a question? When is the next meeting? Just so I can let you
It'll be the first Thursday in July. Oh, it will not be July 4th.
I was like,
We'll have to deal with that tonight. We'll have to pick maybe, I don't know. We will let
Okay,
you
so
know.
just let
I'll
me
send
know,
you a
let me
message.
know. Okay.
I'll let you know, because we'll have to deal with that before the end of the night, because I didn't realize that, so.
All right, thank you so much
All
for
right.
your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
thank you.
You are up. Come on up.
Kind of tough to follow.
Tough act.
Yeah.
Tough act. But you're still doing good work here, so this is good.
All right, so Caitlin Gibbs, happy to represent our current board of PTO members and our at-large members. Not a great PowerPoint, we just kind of threw info together, so moving forward we'll try and be a little bit better. But so we just as best practices, I know the board comes to the school committee to look at fundraisers for the following year. So we do have those listed out, which if anyone has questions, happy to go. We can go line by line, but really I wanted to use this as an opportunity to also just thank you all, thank the administration in the room, and just give you some updates about the last year as well. So because kind of the order of business is fundraisers, were there any questions on our list of fundraisers and or comments or anything about that before I give some updates?
Floor's open. Any questions? I guess you get off the hook on that one.
Check. So just so you know, what we did do is we listed any that we expect interest to still be there for, but we also added a few that we kind of to the point about family engagement. We have tried to go outside the box over the last year and get families involved that might not be able to show up to a meeting once a month on Thursdays. We know it's hard. So we do have ideas out there, things like golf tournaments and things like cornhole tournaments that somebody wants to be a part of, they might just not be able to get to a monthly meeting. So any of those ideas are thrown on here. Last meeting, we had a gentleman show up for the very first time, and he wants to plan a Kentucky Derby themed fundraiser. So we are not letting him get off the hook on that one. But with that said, one of the items that we wanted to just start to have a conversation about is when new fundraising ideas are brought up and it's something that we think could have some traction, would the committee be open to us coming to a meeting during the school year opposed to just prior to kind of talk about those and or get approval? Because we don't ever want to say no to a fundraiser because of scheduling in terms of getting in front of you. So I don't know if there's thoughts on that practice and how we can if it's biannually or quarterly or as needed, just to make sure we're running fundraisers that you're all behind and you don't get flyers home that are like, wait, what? What's this fundraiser? So kind of just that communication and how you would all like to see any new ideas.
For me personally, I'm very adaptable. If there's a good idea that can help, I'm okay if you come every month. I mean, that's how I feel. Like, if you've got a great idea for next month and you need this month's vote, come see us. Just get it on the agenda, reach out. But that's my feeling. I don't know if anybody else has thoughts on it.
I agree with you. I think it's a wonderful idea to be able to have flexibility.
Yeah, I don't have it up, but I know there is a policy on that for PTO, so I have to find that. That's the only thing. I just need to look at that. And
I'm gonna make the policy committee busy by the end of the night.
Well, that's good for some of us to know. So when you look
Yeah.
at the makeup of the board, we're trying to follow in some pretty great footsteps, including Heather back there. And so we have a lot of great institutional knowledge, but some of us might not actually know that it is a policy in the school committee. So that would be great to know, but
Yeah, I'll find that, and then I'll share that with you for sure. Yeah.
And if there's an appetite to make it adaptable, we can adjust the policy. So
Yeah,
we
we
can-
have some that we've just started doing, and some are, like, I just spoke about it, 6 years old. Some of them are,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll work to be adaptable for you.
Thank you.
Is there anything you can do to raise funds that helps the kids? That's the goal, right?
We appreciate the support. You all have been at events, whether it's a parent, a community figure, supporting us, stopping in. We really appreciate that. Our Board of Selectmen, although, not here tonight, has shown up at events over the last couple of years to decorating trunks at Trunk or Treat, coming to the auction. So I think for our PTO to be a part of such a great town and actually have people see us as a role and not just something that does some fun little events has been great. We also worked really hard this last year to try and engage newer families. And when I say newer, I mean the kind of grab them as they come in kindergarten and even pre-K. And I think we're starting to see that pay off. We have some incredible supporters in, 4th through 6th grade. But if you think about it, eventually those families will move on and they might take on the middle school parent group. And so we worked really hard, and the auction was a great example. We had an outpouring of support from younger student families and raised a ton of money from that. And really just we worked hard this year to try and appreciate our staff. So we had a very vigorous goal of monthly staff treats. We tried. It turned out into bi-monthly, but things like donuts, bagels, coffee, little just we're thinking of you, trying to do it before breaks. And then, of course, the appreciation week. So, one of the functions of our group is we want to make sure that teachers, staff, paraprofessionals, administrators, they know that we see them. And that's why we call everything staff appreciation, because it's not just the classroom teachers. Any questions kind of about the past year? Or comments or anything you would have liked to see from us that, one thing that's not on that, sorry, was the request to change a couple of the events to be inclusive. So as we know, the Sweetheart Dance has traditionally been a female student with a father figure or a male in their life. And it's great that a lot of families want to continue that tradition, but with it being open to all, we did see more boy students attend that dance this year. And then the Jackson School Dance that was started 2 years ago as a someone special, so for predominantly boy students, although everybody was welcome, with a female, was really well attended by all students and one special adult. So the difference there is it's not the drop-in Jackson welcome party that Steve and Marilyn had done a great job of 2 years ago. This is, you get dressed up, maybe you have some flowers, and it's one special adult to dance, but it's including all students.
Yeah, I loved seeing the inclusionary language. And we were at both, and they were phenomenal. My kiddos loved them, so thank you.
Questions?
You answered my question about the Derby, because I saw that, I was like, what's that? So.
Are you signing up to
The
coordinate?
Derby, I was like, yeah. Get me out of this. No.
He's not answering.
You're right by that. It's going right by it.
And just a couple of other updates. I know you guys have a jam-packed agenda. This summer, we are going to try and get a 6th grade committee together. So that's the group that is, really benefiting from a lot of the money that the Wood School raises. So to fund graduation activities, used to be Nature's Classroom. This year was the mobile classroom, and just making sure that they are kind of understanding where some of that funding is going. And with that said, we also will have a 5th grade committee to do the same thing for the following year. But that goes into our bylaw review. So our bylaws, I believe, might even be older than the ones you were just saying. But we want to look at our bylaws and ensure that what we're seeing and the things that the community and the schools and all of you want to see is what we're producing. So we're going to take a look at that over the summer and have a group set up for that. And then I do have a financial report, but unfortunately it doesn't have all of May updated. I just need to give a shout out to Kate Nappy, who is our treasurer, and hopefully our administrators in the room can attest to this. She is so organized and by the book, and we do have a breakdown of every fundraiser, what it's raised, kind of historical profit, and just, this time of year specifically, there's so much going on at the schools. There's amazing assemblies, there's field trips, there's a bus field trip
bill, and Kate works really hard to make sure that whether it's the principals or the teachers are getting exactly what they need. So I tell you that because she has not been able to reconcile all of the payments for May to give us something, but we're excited that we already have enough money to budget for next year's field trips, $2,000 per grade, including a party for pre-K, and sixth grade funds are looking great. So I'm happy to send a more updated version along, but yeah, transparency, and we've, doesn't mean we shouldn't fundraise next year, because of course we need to, and have a great auction, but happy with what we've been able to do for the schools.
You got a lot of nodding from the principals behind you, so they're in agreement. They had your back there the whole
Probably because
time.
Robin needs a check tomorrow. Yeah. And we do, as of July 1st, have a new board, so I did put that in the notes. And so I will be president, and we will appoint a vice president for the remainder of the office, the 2-year office, and then Kate is continuing as our treasurer, but Courtney Kenny, she was Courtney Smith, will be our corresponding secretary, and Julie Rainville stepped up to be our recording secretary. So.
Excellent. So any questions on any of that? That was a wonderful presentation from the PTO. We appreciate the thoroughness of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything you guys need, you let us know.
I just wanted to add that as part of my role in Plainville, I've been invited to sit on the YMCA Board of Incorporators, which Caitlin has something to do with. And we had a meeting this week, and one of the questions that we were asked about was our thoughts about volunteering, and why do you volunteer, and what drives you to volunteer, and what would inspire you to do more volunteering. And there were a lot of really interesting answers, but most people agreed that your reason for volunteering, especially people kind of in this age group, it's for your children. And that's when people go on and they have different volunteer opportunities later in life. They universally seem to start with, you know, a young family and wanting to be there. And I think when I look around at our PTO, we have PTO members all over this district, and we couldn't do it without them. There are so many things that just either aren't in our budget or aren't within our bandwidth, or we just need partnership on. And we do have an incredible core of volunteers through our PTO. And I think our PTO's openness to becoming a modern PTO and making sure that we're looking at different perspectives. And an example I can think of is a mom from your school, Robin, who reached out to Anna to say, I want to make sure that all students get to go to these sixth grade events, and what can the PTO and the parent groups do to support that and make sure that happens. So I think, you know, there's a lot of gratitude for the work that you do, specifically from and on behalf of our students.
Well, thank you. You nailed it. You all do so much, the classroom teachers, the administrators, and so whether we all have time to do it or not, it's because our kids get so much out of their experience at the schools, and so thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, I think do we need to vote the slate? Are we voting the slate? Is that what we're doing for the fundraisers?
Yes.
I would entertain a motion to approve all fundraisers presented to us tonight for the 24-25 school year.
Jen, so moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't wait for you guys to come to Michelle's Kentucky Derby that she's running.
I'm never gonna get out of this one.
All right, so let me get back to my agenda here. All right, so let's get back into order here. And that's going to take us, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to commendations. So, we have some long-term tenured retirements that are happening. And they could not be with us here tonight, but we wanted to say a few nice words. So I have a few things to read for each of them, and we can share our thoughts and thank them. I'm probably watching, so hello. And we'll go forward. So I read this with thanks and gratitude for all the years of service. So I'm going to just read in order, by no favoritism here. This is just how it was presented. So we have Dr. Ann Dargan. Is a career educator and school leader who has served as a substitute teacher, teaching assistant, teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, school business administrator, and director of student services. That's a list for sure. In addition, she has worked in the field of higher education, guiding students through upper-level coursework at Bridgewater State University. In Plainville, not only has she served as the administrator of special education, but she has also had additional roles in overseeing professional development, specialized transportation, yellow bus transportation, the teacher mentoring program, and the district wellness committee. During the difficult COVID years when Dr. Dargan joined the Plainville Public Schools, she took the helm when it came to ensuring that testing and other COVID requirements were met in order to make the schools as safe as they can be. When Dr. Dargan joined the Plainville Schools, she came with a number of recommendation letters. One stated, and I quote, "Dr. Dargan understands the importance of putting students first. She has a proven ability to work with a variety of people, create and strengthen her correct connections to the community, and inspire staff," end quote. Dr. Dargan has made a significant impact on the Plainville students and on the hundreds of others she has worked with over the course of her successful career. And with that, thank you, Dr. Dargan. If you're watching, we appreciate it. We wish you well in retirement. It's certainly well earned. So we will clap for Dr. Dargan. Thank you. And I'm going to read all three, and then we'll take comment. So we have another person who has been here a very long time, who everybody who's been through here knows. So Ms. Cheryl Mazzio has been a teacher with the Plainville Public Schools since 1982. I'm not going to say what year I was born. She has held various positions, including those of special educator, first grade teacher, and second grade teacher. In addition, she has served as a mentor for new teachers, coordinator of the district's teacher mentor program, curriculum team member, summer school teacher, and tutor. Ms. Mazzio has taken advantage of the district's varied professional development offerings, living up to the statement that she has made in her original cover letter for employment in Plainville, where she wrote, and again, a quote, "Education to me is a continuous, ongoing process. I believe that education should continue throughout life, whether it be formal or informal. As my students learn from me, I can learn from them," end quote. Over her highly successful career, Ms. Mazzio has brought this core value to life each and every day. The Jackson School sees her bright and early each morning, and she is still at school each day long past the time her students have likely eaten their dinner and prepared for bed. The district has been the fortunate beneficiary of Cheryl's student-centered presence and her contributions to student learning over the years. So, thank you. That is a long and very successful career, and the amount of students you came in contact with and helped is astounding. So, thank you. And then we have Ms. Jennifer McCarthy. She has served as the district's certified occupational therapist assistant since 2005. Ms. McCarthy has dedicated her career to students who required occupational therapy services, including fine motor skill development and sensory skill development. She has worked with students in small groups. She has assisted students in their classrooms as they work to access the curriculum, and she has been a member of the student support teams in our more specialized learning programs. Ms. McCarthy has developed positive relationships with her students, and she has helped to motivate students to tackle skills and challenges that weren't always easy, building not only their skills, but their confidence too. The district is grateful to Ms. McCarthy for the impact she has had and made for all the students of Plainville. Thank you again. So there's a varying amount of time in the district on this committee, and I know these names are familiar to most, so if they have any comments and thanks, I'll give each member a chance to say something.
Yeah, I mean, of all three, of course, Cheryl's been amazing, and I think back, my God, 1982, my gosh, and all the contributions that she's had, and I'm watching her with the mentor program, and how sad she was when COVID came and we had to stop it, and, you know, and so it's such a great job, and so, and always has such a great smile and personality on top of it, so I know that will be missed, but I have a feeling she's still gonna be around for some reason, I just have that feeling. And so I really appreciate all that she's done, and the OT person that we've had, you know, may not be as many years, but the last few years have been a little crazy in education, so those of us who have stuck it out, and there was a lot of people that left, and continued to do what they were doing, and working with children that really need the support and they're fine in their gross motor skills, and that's so important to them. So it's a very valuable service that she gives to our children. So I thank her for that. And I don't know if you're watching, Ann, but you were my supervisor for 2 years and you had to put up with me. So I
sorry,
think
Ann. I'm sorry, Ann.
Plainville is nothing compared to me. So she would see me come barreling through the office. So she knows how much I love her and all that she's done. And she's a walking book of knowledge. If I want to know anything or I don't know, any type of policy or whatever, she can just spout it out. And I just look at her like, where do you keep all that knowledge in that little body? But anyway, so I wish her the very best. And so, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Justin, you just said this, the amount of students who have been impacted by these three professionals. I think we're looking at 60-plus years in the Plainville schools together. It's extraordinary, and it just speaks to the caliber of professionals that we have on the ground with our kids every single day. And I can personally attest to Miss Mazio. My son has her this year, and she is one that was born to teach. You know, she doesn't just care for her students, she loves them. And Jakey's better for having her. So thank you to all three, and enjoy your retirement.
And that doesn't impact her son's grade, by the way, Mrs.
We're a small town, and we've been blessed with a staff from the ground up that's just extraordinary. And these three retirements, or these three examples, I should say, really speak to what we've been able to put together here in this town. And the longevity, certainly, of Ms. Mazio, the deep personal commitment of Dr. Dargan, and the knowledge and expertise. I just want to say thank you. I've said this a lot tonight. It's been a thankful night here on the school committee. But it's a tall order to come up with words to express our appreciation for people that have devoted themselves so thoroughly and professionally to the students and the parents and the community of Plainville. So thank you, and best wishes to all three on a very happy and prosperous future for all of them.
I don't know what I can add after all of that, except for, congratulations, and I hope you enjoy your retirement. I hope it's longer than when you worked. And, good luck
Thank you.
to all
I'm
three.
jealous.
I am jealous. I'm so jealous.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And, the floor is always open if anybody wants to make comment, but we appreciate everything they've all done and wish them all the best in their retirement. And feel free to share a story of what retirement's like, because I do look forward to it myself. So get there eventually. All right. So we take that on to our, we're back into our committee reports. King Philip.
Okay. We have not had a meeting for a little while. We actually have a meeting next Monday and then the following Monday because of the town meeting. So we switched around. We're just going to do 2 meetings back to back. But I can give a couple of dates because there's a lot going on in King Philip right now at the end of the year. So last night was the KP Middle School Fine Arts Showcase, which is our band, the art show, the jazz band, and then the chorus. And they had the performances, so you could go and look at the artwork in the library, and then of course see the band outside, or the jazz, or the chorus. And I know some of you were there last night, and it was a really nice night. And they bribed the children with ice cream afterwards, so everybody was happy at the end of the night. Yep.
Wonderful night.
And yeah, it was very nice. I thought they did very well. Tonight is the award night for the high school that's being held. And then, of course, graduation for the high school is on the 9th, the Sunday, for our class of 2024 from 2 to 4:30. We also have on the 13th is the King Philip Middle School Award Night. And on June 14th, which a lot of them are looking forward to, is the 8th grade dance. And that's all I've heard about. So yeah, the 8th grade dance will be on that 14th. And yeah, it's pretty much a lot going on at the end of the year, like every school, a lot of activities and end of the celebrations and whatnot. So wish the very best for graduates of 2024 and everybody to have a wonderful summer and get most of the people back for the next year.
Thank you. Take us to negotiations.
We are currently in the process of negotiating and renewing Dr. Parsons' contract, and I will be able to update more at our next meeting.
Absolutely. Let's see, communications.
We are working on getting our Instagram account up. So hopefully we'll have more on that our next meeting. It'll be up and running.
Excellent. Sick leave.
Thankfully, nothing to report.
Okay, that's very good. Wellness.
There was a meeting yesterday, no, Wednesday, that I was unable to attend, so I'm going to defer to those that may have been in attendance. Mrs.
I was also unable to attend, and I did,
Sorry,
I did not bring a report tonight. Were you there? Oh, good.
Attended the
Oh.
and by the time I got on, they already decided to call it.
So no report.
So no report.
No report tonight.
There was a celebration for Miss Mazio in the morning.
Okay.
So I think there was a few things happening. So I think they decided to postpone the meeting.
They had recently put out a survey, and I believe that right now we're also looking at what the format is going to be of the Wellness Committee for next year, who's going to actually chair that committee. So I think there are a few things in flux with that committee, but I think we'll be back up and running in September with a more productive report than tonight's. But thank you, Kristen, for chiming in too.
So thank you. That's bus duty time. I can never get there.
Yeah. All right. Budget subcommittee.
Well, Monday was the penultimate event for the Budget Subcommittee, the culmination of a good part of the year's worth of work on putting together the budget for the coming fiscal year for the schools. And fortunately, and I'm happy to report that the school budget was passed as requested, and our articles were passed as requested, and it was a very successful meeting. And I think that this year is another step forward for us in our long journey back, and we continue to take the baby steps, if you will, that are necessary to get us back where we need to be. And I thank all of the residents and the parents and everyone that attended the town meeting and was so supportive of our goals and aspirations here as a Plainville Public School District.
I agree. I mean, I'm all in on incremental improvements, but making sure they're sustainable. I say it over and over. I'll say it over and over again. Whatever we do, we got to make sure we keep.
Yes.
And that's the thing. We might be able to get something extra one year, but if we're going to lose it the next, it's painful and it hurts the staff and the students. So I want to make sure what we do as budget subcommittee and as the school committee, whatever we can give, we keep. Yes. And I think we're doing a good job with that, and we'll keep going forward. So thank you. Policy. You had a quote on policy. We can't
already know what we're doing about
it. No, just kidding. Please go ahead.
We'll be meeting and going over the ones that are, we have quite a few, we have a lot that were updated in the last few years, but like I was just looking at the PTO one, that's 6 years old too. So yeah, there's ones that need to be cleaned up, so we'll be doing that.
And that's why we established the committee, because this is the things we knew we needed to get done. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it's taking root and it's happening, and two of you are getting it done, and look forward to
And
freshening it
sometimes
up.
there's some things that are more legality, and you always follow the MASC, to keep within that. But also too, it might be there's a social issue, and so you're looking at that negates that you need to jump over and do that. So I think it's just kind of going back and cleaning everything up, so.
Yeah. We'll have that taken care of too.
All right. Okay, then. Any questions or comments for the resignation, transfer, and appointment document that was provided? Okay. None there, then I believe we're going into our superintendent's report.
Okay.
Dr. Parson.
All right, thank you. So it seems like last night was a popular night for the arts in the region. So we had an amazing concert at the Woods School. You can see band director Sam Thurston up there, Megan Olinsu, our music and choral director, and a bunch of our young musicians there doing what they do best. And you'll see the program, and I put the pictures of the program on here because I thought it was just so impressive, the level of competence that these students have developed over the course of 1 year's time, and the complexity of the musical pieces that have been selected, and they really rose to that occasion. Robin, I don't know if you want to add anything to this about last night, but...
just absolutely amazing. One thing everybody should know is he's a master of arranging music, and that means creating the music so that each student can play at their ability. So it's not just sheet music you buy from the store, it's taking that sheet music and really individualizing it for different instruments and different students. And that is something he is masterful at. And some of these kids who just were shining last night was just unbelievable. It's just amazing. And I had to stop and say, these are 5th and 6th graders who are playing these songs. If you closed your eyes, you would have thought you were listening to the radio. It's just simply magical. And the amount of money that they raised with their concession stand, that just shows you that Plainville is invested in this music program. So thank you for all your efforts in bringing this back.
Absolutely. I very much look forward to seeing all the students go into the KP system that are in band, but I want to see, it's going to be really amazing when we have the first grade that goes through all the grades of band here and then makes it to KP. We're back at that point because we're that's where we once were. And I'm excited. When will that be? Will that be after next year? I didn't really think about that just now. We're not doing math in this meeting, so we're not going to talk about that further.
Yeah.
So we learned our lesson. But I do look forward to that. So.
All right, thank you, Robin. Memorial Day really highlighted at the Jackson School and at the Plainville Senior Center. You'll see our second graders who really promoted the meaning of Memorial Day and were part of a very respectful ceremony. You'll see Select Board Chair Jeff Johnson, who was kind of leading the ceremony that particular day. And our students, they really shined. Beautiful singing. It was just a very thoughtful ceremony, and it was really nice to see our Plainville kids as such an important part of that. They also performed for the entire Jackson School, so they had a number of opportunities to really help us all think about and reflect on the meaning of that very important holiday. So we've talked a lot about our therapy dog program this year. It really is up in action. Phenomenal job, Kristen and Robin, getting Mocha in and working with Lori Cotton to bring this to life. And you'll see Mocha with students at the Woods School, Mocha with students at the Jackson School, Mocha helping the principal feel better and helping the school nurse feel better. So it's really a pleasure watching Mocha just interact with the students, the tricks that dog performs, and Lori's got a great sense of how to interact with the kids and with the adults, and it's a big success so far. Plainville Pride, again, this was the result of an incredible amount of work by our two school administrators, our school council, members of our greater community, and you'll see a few pictures. I did have to laugh about the trucks, and we made kind of a big deal about making sure the lawns are mowed, and then there were these great big trucks in that little area of the lawn. But the kids were up there, and they were climbing up with their adults, and I did pop a picture of our band in here as well, because the first year that I went to Plainville Pride Night was right after I had gotten hired, and it was the KP band that was playing that evening. And this year it was the Woods School band, and it was very impactful and really heartwarming to see the progress that's been made. So great job to both schools for facilitating that. Very well attended, and lots of our staff were there. I have to reiterate, you were there, Kaylee. So many staff members were there, and it wouldn't have run without them. So Stephanie was there doing paper airplane. I mean, everybody really had a part. So
There was a fantastic DJ.
a fantastic DJ.
There was a fantastic DJ that night.
Was that you, Shannon?
It was
Oh,
me.
It was you. It was me. Yes, it was. Yep. And Bubbles. DJing
And Bubbles, I
Okay.
DJ. I really didn't do much. All I did was make sure it didn't stop playing.
Just keep it going.
Christina made the playlist, so I just had to make sure it didn't stop.
Outside of like my children, my food revolves around my food. So you see, I said it. My life revolves around food, and I learned a new tactic this year is to get there at 5:30 or even a few minutes early, so I can be first in line to the food trucks. And it worked great. It was wonderful. So I'll remember that next year. So
The other thing I'll just add about Pride Night was two newer members of our school community who'll be joining us as of July 1st, Barbara Sawanka for Director of Student Services, and Colleen Terrell, Assistant Superintendent that we're sharing with KP. We're both there, both made the rounds, and we're very, very impressed with the whole event, so it's nice to share it with them. Field days, again, as Michelle alluded to, lots and lots of activities going on, both during the school day and outside of the school day. Tracy Del Grasso, Dave Murphy, both did a phenomenal job, along with their school administrators and the school staff. These events don't run without our classroom teachers supporting parent volunteers. Our two SROs kind of held some real estate on the swing set with the Jackson. They lent their hats out to the kids. It was really, really sweet to see that. Just a really wonderful, wonderful days in both buildings. So these are just a couple of thank yous. Steve, you talked about town meeting the other night, and we're certainly grateful for what seemed to be a very smooth, one of the easiest town meetings I've ever seen personally or professionally. Everything was in order, and the town was very favorable about our requests, and we were certainly happy to see our budget pass through with the rest of the town's budget, and the articles that we requested for roof study and technology went through as well. So we're grateful for the town's support there. And, Robin, do you want to just say a couple words about the Thermo Fisher field trip this week?
Again, Thermo Fisher is an amazing partnership where some of their staff, there's about 25, 30 staff members, come once a week to eat lunch and play games with our students. And our students at the end of the year are able to visit where they work every day. And it's just a great field trip. They get to go into Thermo Fisher, learn a little bit about what they do each day, and do a couple of activities. So they made slime again this year, and some lava lamps too. And Caitlin Nunez took the lead, and she said the kids were well behaved. They had a great time. It's a year-long partnership that's just amazing for these students. And the kids give up a recess, their lunch recess, to sit and play with their mentors. So it's very impactful having a positive adult role model in their lives, in addition to their families. It's just great.
They've definitely been one of the best additions to this community in all aspects.
And I think Andy is at school more than he's at work. He makes sure that every single child has a mentor every single week, and he mentors multiple students if needed. He's just really a top-notch guy.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Ditto. So these are just, we thank the larger bodies and the full town, but and I don't think I need to go through all of these individually, but I think, as you think about the year and you reflect on it, everything that goes on in this district, in this community, it doesn't happen because of me. It happens because of all of these contributors. And we had our PTO here tonight and community members and, on and on. All of these groups, certainly shout out to our faculty and staff, our L department and newcomer kind of experts presented tonight, but their work is supporting what goes on in our classrooms. And it certainly has been a learning year for all of us collectively. So just wanted to acknowledge that it definitely takes a village, and we have many extraordinary people in ours. And, a couple of things coming up. We have our step-up day for our kindergartners, kindergarten and pre-K wrapping up just a little bit before everybody else on June 11th. The remainder of our students next Thursday, a week from today, will be getting to meet the teachers in the grade level that they'll be joining in the upcoming school year. We have our 6th graders graduating on Friday, June 14th. Woods School will have an awards assembly on the last day of school, which is Monday, June 17th, and likewise that same day is our last day of school with a noon dismissal, and we're not serving lunch on that very last day. So a couple nice things to look forward to. And that brings me to the end.
To the end, okay. Excellent. Thank you. Back into the agenda. So we have... All right, so we took care of PTO, we took care of the Jessicks. We are on to the Woods and Jackson School fundraiser. On that?
Sure. So, we have Robin and Kristen both here representing their schools and their school councils. The committee was provided with the list of fundraisers that each school council is interested in entertaining for the Wood and the Jackson schools next year. Robin or Kristen, is there anything new or different that we haven't seen before that you wanted to highlight, or are these mostly replicas? I saw something about the Olympics. I don't know if you wanted to speak about that, Robin.
So we've done a fundraiser for and it's brought in a lot of money, and we've been able to do a lot of things with it. And we don't want parents to get bored of the same thing. So we were going to change it up a little bit and do it the same type of fundraising method, if you will, but we're just going to change the event for the kids. So we were going to create Summer Olympics in September, hence we have Summer Olympics going along with that theme, and just replace the fun run just to keep it fresh.
Any questions?
We need to bring back Special Olympics and the polar plunge again, so.
I saw the polar plungers. I was like, oh no. Any questions?
Is the fun run like the jingle jog and?
The Harvest Hustle, the Jingle Jog, so now we're just changing it up a little bit. And the fun run will come back in a couple of years, but we just want to keep it fresh.
And I love that she thought that far ahead, because right now I just put Harvest Hustle. we'll do with the change, but you know what it is. So we're going to do another one of those.
That's why you guys are a good team. Any other questions?
Talk over the summer, Kristen and I. We'll get it straight. Yeah. Another one that's a little bit new, we've tried to do it before, is that grade 5 wants to do a candy bar bingo night along with their talent show, just to raise money for some events that we do, some special things.
Anything else? Questions? So questions, entertain a motion to approve the school council fundraisers as presented.
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Appreciate the work on it. All right, so that's going to take us into substitute nurse compensation. So some documents were provided to all of you. Our compensation level for substitute nurses is low, and we all know how the job market is now. So the presentation and the documents were given so that we can discuss potentially raising that amount to something that maybe will keep us competitive, and also assure that maybe we can actually have somebody there when they need it versus having to go outside and pay extra to an outside agency at a higher cost. So the discussion is, do we want to raise it? And if so, to what level? I know the dollar amounts were provided, also the budget impacts were provided, and I would open it up to any discussions that we want to have.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, Gail, I guess this is to you. The Norfolk and Rentham rates, are those the current, like, have they updated them recently? Or?
Well, I know in Rentham, I don't believe they upped their rate. I believe they have 2.5 nurses for 2 buildings, so I think they don't really hire substitute nurses very frequently. So I don't know if they've taken that into consideration to raise that rate in a while.
Okay. And the Norfolk one, do you know if that's?
I'm not sure. I have a feeling that's pretty up to date. Yeah.
Okay.
But I can check on that certainly.
Thoughts?
The overall
So-
consensus with some of the other business managers I spoke to is they found it's very difficult to get sub nurses, sort of regardless of what the pay is. So, but I feel with an increase to 200 a day, it will sort of help us remain competitive anyways, to at least, get our name out there and say, we're not paying $135 a day anymore. It's actually gone up. So
And what does the company that we hire from, if we don't have anybody, what's that? That's substantial. It's like $400 a day or something like that.
it's been 400 plus a day.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a high cost if we can't find our own substitute.
It might also be helpful for the committee to know, so Gail and I have been hearing from our nurses, really probably since I arrived here, for 2 years, about their concerns for making sure that our schools are covered. And I think It's somewhat easier to work with a situation where you're covering for a classroom. We have paraprofessionals we can call. We have, all kinds of substitutes. We never have enough of them, but they're available, and it's easier to switch things around. When you have a medical issue or a medical professional, we just can't say, oh, we'll pull this person today. Our nurses have worked very conscientiously to create plans for what would happen if one nurse was out, what would happen if one nurse needs to cover 2 buildings. So they've definitely taken into consideration and put a lot of thought into how will we handle multiple scenarios in the event that we may not have quite enough on any given day. And we have been very fortunate because the committee has supported the .4 additional nurse.
Yeah.
So we do have at least 2 days a week where we have 3 nurses on site. And our nurses, to their credit, have written a grant through the Department of Education, or is it through DPH? I'm not sure. So that has brought in funding, as Gail kind of referred to, where they've been able to use grant funding to pay substitutes. So what we're very hopeful that the grant will continue, but as we know, grants, will dry up and we may not be able to depend on them. But through the grant, they've been able to pay nurse subs a little bit more than we typically have been able to do through our standard rate. And they have found that we've had a few people who've come to Plainville. They've really liked working in our schools. They enjoy both of our nurses, and we found them to be good assets. So our hope is always that our permanent school nurses will be in school every day, but we know it's not realistic to think that we won't ever need coverage. And, we'd like to be able to support them in ensuring that we can be competitive with the region, because school nurse substitutes are hard to come by.
If I could ask, how does our potentially increasing the rate that we pay per day for substitute nurses impact what we're paying our nurses? Is there a correlation? Or could there be a correlation there?
Daily rate of what the nurses earn versus.
The comparison between the two, I think, is what you're asking.
Yes.
If by
Yeah.
increasing it to 200, do we put ourselves in a liability issue with the current nurses saying?
Right, I want to make
substitutes are
sure we're
making
paying, I
more?
think, I value our nurses. I think
Correct.
that the contribution that the nurses make to the schools can't be overstated. And a couple of years ago, I know they were in a bad position with understaffing, and they weren't able to handle what they were being presented with every day. I want to make sure that we're standing by our school nurses 100% before we increase pay for substitute nurses. I think you understand what I'm getting at. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, so to speak. Are we okay with our nurses that we have in-house? I want to make sure that they're being paid exactly what they're worth and more.
I think they've been part of the conversation, correct?
Yes, and they are part of the Teachers Association, so they are paid commensurate with where they land based on the contract
The contract.
negotiated. Yes,
Good.
yes, and I do think that given the .4 nurse addition and given the supplemental funding from the grant has also paid for a lot of professional development for them, so they've been benefiting from that as well. They've also been able to use that grant to do a little bit extra, some of the enrichment programs in the morning, the nature walks, and last year I think they did a babysitting class. But I think for now, what I've heard our nurses asking for is time to do some of the kind of administrative pieces and paperwork that goes along and documentation. And having the .4 nurse and having some of these extra grant nurses has helped them be able to do that.
Good.
And where I really hear their voice over the past couple of years has been worrying about not being able to recruit substitutes.
Really? Okay.
I mean,
So we need to be
add to that
competitive.
if you
Right.
Yeah.
think differently. But.
I think like in the past in Plainville, we always tried to be, when we looked at our sister schools, we always tried to be like in the middle. We were never at the bottom. We never wanted to be at the bottom. We never wanted to be at the top. So we would pick that middle ground. So then I look at this and I say, oh, that's quite a jump, going up $65. That's half of what we already pay. But on the other coin too, I also know that when you have field trips and you have children that have diabetes and you have to have a nurse that goes on that field trip, then if you're pulling a nurse in the building, now you've got one nurse that's trying to cover 2 buildings. It's very difficult. And I know from personal experience, when I would call for subs, they would either not answer the phone right away, or they would tell me they would get back to me because they were waiting to see if the district next to me, who paid more money, was going to call them. So I know that happens also. But I wasn't sure if we needed to go that high. But I'm listening to what you have to say, but I can't ignore that I know about that part there too.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's really the committee's decision, what, do we want to do something in kind of an incremental manner, which might put us right in the middle of this? Or do we say, we'll just go with the 200 right now and say, let's see if that makes an impact. We're not sure because of the lack of available people, we're not even sure if the 200 is going to make much of a change in terms of adding to our group of substitutes, but we figured it's worth a try. So I think there's probably a minimal difference in the financial impact between going to 175 and 200. So it's,
I mean, it definitely, we were only $10 from being at the bottom, so it definitely needs an increase.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
saying it
you're
doesn't,
right.
but I wanted to know from the committee what you thought, so.
But that's important what you just said. So this would put us on par with KP. So the last thing we want is, the experience that you have where, okay, I might be able to come to Plainville, but KP offers a bit more, so I'm waiting on that call.
That's right.
I think my thought of recommending a higher amount was that we don't have to do this again maybe next year, if we go to 175 this year and then next year we're back in the same place, I'm asking to go to 200. I feel like if we could just make it leap, it could stay there for a little while, we'd be competitive.
I think it's such a challenging position to find somebody last minute that I would want to be as competitive as possible that the budget can support. Between the grants and even without the grants, the impact is percentage-wise infinitesimal relative to the whole budget. I'm for the 200. When the call comes in the morning and you got to deal with it, I want to be as competitive as possible to make your jobs as easy as possible and have somebody in the schools for the students.
To build off what Michelle said, have we had situations where we've been unable to fill a substitute nurse shift because we're not paying enough?
So the answer to that question is yes. We have had situations where we have not been able to fill a nurse position, and we've had to ask one of our nurses to cover both buildings. We have not, to my knowledge, been in a position where we've had no nurse. So, and one of the complications of nursing is when you look at numbers. So it might not be out of the realm to say we have 640 or 650 kids. In some larger elementary schools, you might have one nurse for that number of students. But the complexities of our students right now are such that in one case, we do have a diabetic student. And, you don't want to leave that situation unattended and have one nurse running back and forth. So it's hard for us to tell you, Steve, if the reason why we couldn't fill nurses on those 2 days has to do with the money. But I think we could probably say if we had a larger pool to pull from, we might have had better luck.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very small pool, and we're all trying to pull from the same pool. So, it's going to be sometimes financial, but it's also going to be the person's comfort level. If somebody says, oh, it's for middle school, it's for, so I tend to see the high schools tend to pay more because that tends to be the tougher to try to get people to come to the high schools. In the middle schools, elementary has a little bit better, but still every day we're missing people and trying to cover all across the board, so.
Thoughts on a direction? Kind of threw my hat in the ring, but I am by no means rigid.
I think you have to go with the higher cost. I know from my work, your work, it does not do any good to go bottom of the barrel and then pay so much more money because you're always going to need the help. It's something bad is always going to happen. And if you don't always plan for the bad, you're going to have a disaster.
I agree. And I also like the concept of in-housing things. I do. I think it's a better model, and a lot of people.
And honestly, people think, oh, well, the school nurse, she's handing out Band-Aids and taking temperatures. That's not what they're doing. That is not what they're doing. So we need someone there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, to my point of view is knowing that the nurses are behind this, I feel more comfortable in supporting it. I think that's the best recommendation we can get is from our own nursing staff.
I agree.
There is no doubt that they're behind this 100%. Yes.
Would anybody be willing to entertain making a motion to raise the substitute nurse rate to 200?
Yeah, I would. I would like to make a motion to raise the rate from $135 per day to $200 per day effective July 1st.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second that.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you to our nurses as well, because it is a job that, again, people don't understand what you do all day long, and we appreciate you being there every day. All right, so we are taking ourselves down to our family engagement grant report. Any updates on that?
Yes. So just a quick update to the committee. We did receive a grant from the Department of Education. It was a $10,000 grant. And the point of this was to see what we could do to support students coming to school, students feeling more strongly engaged in the school setting, and in the hopes of improving student attendance over time. And we all know that you can't replicate instruction. There's nothing that our teachers do at school that we can say to a parent, yep, go do this at home. It just does not work that way. So we started in fairness by looking at student records and looking at students with the highest number of absences in both buildings. And we hired a coordinator who is Dawn Jagannath, who's typically otherwise known as one of our reading teachers. Right. And she started by reaching out to those families, and we, to be perfectly honest, had some kind of mixed responses from families. We had some hard nose. We don't want our children to participate in this, and we had some very clear criteria about what this program would look like. So we landed with working with the principals and with Dawn. We landed on a model that students would come into school 3 days a week at 8 a.m. They would have an opportunity to eat the school-provided breakfast and work with a trusted faculty member to do activities that were enjoyable, engaging, and that would maybe just kind of make that difference to get them through the door. So we definitely had students who ended up joining us who we did have concerns for in terms of their attendance. And we had other students that we ended up going to our counselors and saying, do you have any kids, even if their attendance is really not problematic, do you have any kids who'd really just benefit from another chance to engage, to work with staff, to work with peers? And we were able to find 18 students who wanted to participate and whose families were willing to kind of go along with us with this pilot. If you look at the names of the staff members who offered to do this, these are people who said, I'm going to come into work early, I'm going to plan activities. No one was picky. No one said, I'll only work with these kids or this age. Everybody was very accepting and very excited to do this work with our students. So you'll see on here the number of different types of activities that kids ended up working on, between stained glass and building birdhouses and playing basketball in the gym. You name it, the activities were varied and very well received, as you can see from the student feedback. Kids really loved it. They loved starting their day this way, and that was really our point. Come into school, have a great start to the morning, maybe avoid some of the craziness at home, come have breakfast with us, and start to really develop some nice, solid relationships with our faculty and staff members. And I saw a lot of kids coming in, and you can just see the excitement when they come in and get ready to start. We also put a few criteria in here and requirements of our parents. So we understand that getting students to school, especially at the elementary ages, is not always in control of the child, and we really value that partnership between home and school. So we did ask parents, if your child is going to participate in this program, which was free of charge to families, please ensure that you attend your child's spring conference. Please make sure that you attend one activity with your child between the start of the program and the end of the year. And we asked our teacher liaisons to communicate with families weekly through, at the very least, through an email. So families would have a chance to hear a little bit about what went on and how's it all going. So overall, it was a positive experience, and we think it had an impact on the students who joined us.
Excellent. Any questions on that? Comments?
I don't always agree with everything Desi does or says, but to say the least. But this is a wonderful grant, and your description of what went on compliments to the staff who stepped up to make this happen. Because it's one thing to have the grant and just successfully roll it out. It's another thing to have the staff behind you to make it work. That's fabulous. I love this.
Thank you.
Okay, take us into our strategic plan update.
Okay. So Steve can chime in whenever he'd like, or pretty much everyone in the audience. Well, sorry, not you, Kaylee. You're on pretty much everything else. We have to give you a break sometimes, but essentially, this is our working group to come up with our roadmap for the Plainville Public Schools for the next 4 years. And we are represented by parents, our educators, administrators, and a school committee member, which is Steve. We've met 5 times. Our work is facilitated by Ruth Gilbert Whitner, who's been serving as my new superintendent coach. And this is her specialty. She has done this kind of planning in 20 different districts around the state. So she knows how to plan really like the back of her hand. And she has done a very nice job of chunking our work and giving us small bits and pieces at a time. And over the course of the 5 meetings that we've had already, by our 6th meeting, which is happening on Monday, we really are going to be in pretty good shape to have the bones of this plan put together in terms of our objectives for the district, our outcomes that we'd like to see by 2028, and the areas in which we really want to put our focus. So at this point, I think we've narrowed it down to the areas that we'll be working on: our teaching and learning, climate, culture, and well-being, our district operations, and professional development. And once the full committee meets on Monday and agrees to the strategic objectives and our initiatives, we'll start working on one-year plans. And so for the large 4-year plan, we'll divide that into 1-year components, where each year we'll say, by the end of this school year, we'll have achieved X progress towards the goal. There's a lot of group work as we meet. You'll see a picture of people up, and I think Christine was presenting the results from one of the breakout groups. And I think we've had a nice collection of voices, a nice diversity of opinions and perspectives that have been joining us, and I think we're in good shape. So feel free to add to that, Steve, if there's anything you'd like to.
I want to thank Ruth because, as you said, she is an expert at this type of thing, and she's developed a program and a plan to get us where we need to be. Anytime you put a big group like this together in a room, you're going to have a divergence of opinions and approaches and thoughts and feelings, and I think Ruth has done an excellent job of creating an atmosphere where we can all be comfortable with presenting our views and be more accepting of others' views. And the results have been, frankly, amazing, because we started off as just a room full of people with no idea what we were here for, basically, to do. A daunting challenge to set up a strategy and a plan for a 4-year plan for the school district. And I've seen the growth in that group of the spirit of working together, really, and coming up, and so much agreement and overlapping of the goals that we have and the hopes that we have for the future. It's been a very, very effective planning session for me. It's been a lot of personal growth, to be honest, for me too, to deal with these people and to work with them in this way. It's a great group, and I can't say enough about it. I think it's going to be a fantastic 4-year plan when it gets all put together and all said and done.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And our hope is that by early fall, September, October, we will have a document to bring back to the school committee that you'll be able to review and weigh in on and things like that.
Forward to it.
We're in good shape.
Well, thank you to everybody who's participating on it. Any other comments? All right. We're working through our agenda here. Getting grant updates. Any maintenance?
Do you want to just touch on the maintenance scale?
Projects a little bit. I met with the maintenance team, or I should say facilities director, this past week, and we talked about some of the summer projects that will be happening at the schools. Upcoming will be paving of the Jackson School playground area. That will be scheduled for June 19th and the 21st. Additionally, we are looking at ordering new partitions for all the school bathrooms, both schools. I should have an approval of those plans coming in the next few weeks and hopefully get them ordered, and they should arrive in the beginning of summer. And I did talk to them about a schedule of installation. There's a lot to install, so it would probably happen on a staggered basis. The partitions we have now are fine. Yes, they are corroded and need replacement, but they are fine to use for now as we do a stagger approach to the installation. So it may happen that if it doesn't all happen over the summer, if for every single bathroom, that we could also, do something in December break and April break, but we'll have the partitions on site and available when they are available. The maintenance team is available to install them. So hopefully by the, spring of next year, we'll have all new bathroom partitions, which will look really good.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing they need. They'll freshen it right up. Great.
That's about it. The maintenance team continues to work on the buildings and they're cutting the grass and making things look good. I know they're working to do a town project right now and all their resources are going there, but once that is completed, they will get back to the schools and start working more once school is out.
They got their hands full with that, for sure. But we appreciate their efforts on it. Questions? All right. Take us into gifts and donations. So we have 2. So I have, entertain a motion to approve $100 from American Online Giving, the Benevolity, to the Wood School gift account. A motion for that, please.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Jen second.
Jen seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We have another donation, $40.50 from Bay State Textiles, going to the tech gift account. I have a motion for that, please.
Michelle, so moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Legislator, we kind of touched on a lot of that throughout the meeting. We talked about the 104, we talked about town meeting. Any other updates we have on that? I don't have anything. Okay. Anything not anticipated? All right. Public comment. Any public comment? All right. We're almost there. On the home stretch. We are not having executive session tonight, for those who were wondering. And our last business then is, before we adjourn, is to figure out when we're meeting next. Let's get the calendars out. 'Cause I don't think anybody wants to meet on the 4th of July.
No.
Do we meet over the summer? I
No,
think
we didn't meet
historically we
last
have
July.
not, but we do.
August.
We met in August.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to do a meeting
We do the
for
same.
that project.
We meet in August. We don't meet in July.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, we shouldn't hold that
we
up.
shouldn't hold that up till August.
Right.
Well, what do we got for dates that we can do? I cannot do the week of our standby meeting, unfortunately. So the 18th will be our standby meeting. I cannot do that week.
Christine and I were tentatively looking at July 11th and August 15th. Not sure if those would work for the committee, but they seemed relatively separated.
I could do the 11th.
That works for me.
I can do it.
I can do it.
July.
July 11th.
I can do that. I'll check.
So you could.
Yeah, I think, I'll have to look into it and make sure.
So if we do the 11th, I don't know if this one will be occupied or not, because that's an out of sequence, so we may not be here, just so we all know. That's okay, because it's out of sequence. The other thing is, if I would like to try, if we're in a position to do so, to close out Dr. Parsons' contract, which we would have to vote in open session. So the only way to really do that is to maybe meet briefly in executive session first. So we can, if 6 o'clock is the earliest people can come, maybe we schedule that meeting for a 6:30 start, so that we can come out of executive into open session and vote her contract. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
So does that sound all right with you, Dr. Parsons? We'll do it that way? Okay, so I think, so we'll plan to have, if the subcommittee is ready, we'll present our proposal to you in executive session, and as long as we're all in the same boat, we'll come into open session and vote and close that out. So kind of the tentative plan. So we'll work between now and that meeting to be prepared.
Yeah. Okay.
Was
So-
that the only meeting we'll do for July, and then we'll look at August?
And if we need August, we have August. If we don't, or we do, I don't know. We'll take a look, see what we need.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll do August or if there's any new school year prep that we'll need to do in August. I don't know, but we'll be told, I'm sure. So I'm sure if they don't have to have a meeting, they'll let us know too, because it is August. All right, so let's go with July 11th at 6 o'clock for executive session, and then the open meeting will follow, let's just say 6:30. So that we can post that, and we may have, if we're quick, we may have a little recess, but that's okay. Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
All right. So with that, we have our meeting date, and I wish everybody a great end of the school year. And I know we'll see you all, and congratulations on another successful school year. I know it was a challenge from the beginning, and you all came through it, so thank you. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion, do I have a motion? Do the motion. Do I have a second?
Jen, second.
Second? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching.